Welcome to Walker of Worlds podcast. I'm Rachel, and this is the podcast where we step behind the veil to take a look at some little known and long lost urban legends and spooky stories. If you're a fan of finding ways to make it difficult for yourself to sleep at night, please do subscribe and turn on all notifications. Over the weeks, I've been telling the tales of some of my personal paranormal experiences. I seem to have a habit of running into ghosts in hotels, and this story is no different. This time we're going to Las Vegas in Nevada. What can be said about this giant adult playground that was dropped in the middle of the desert? If you've been, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, Las Vegas is a city of fantastic buildings, miles of neon, and an atmosphere that you may or may not feel. This is a city where dreams are made and hearts are broken. It's a city where you're a king one day and a pauper the next. So it's unsurprising that there are a lot of paranormal stories that go with the city. Las Vegas feels almost like a vortex, a place where energies from all over the world mix and mingle. Good and bad, innocent and evil, all of them collide on the famous strip, a 4-mile long, 8-lane wide super road that slashes through the bright lights and loud music. Every vice you can imagine lingers on the strip. Every way to lose and gain money lives somewhere on the asphalt. It's a place that so many want to visit, all of them drawn in like moths to the lights above the Luxor Hotel. Opened in 1993, the Luxor is a 30-storey pyramid-shaped hotel situated at the southern end of the strip. Encased in black glass, the pyramid houses 2,500 rooms and a 100,000 square foot gaming floor. Later renovations added 2 towers, which brought up the number of guest rooms to 4,400. The pyramid is topped off by the Luxor Sky Beam, the strongest beam of light in the world at 42.3 billion candela. This is made possible by using curved mirrors to gather the light of 39 7,000 watt lamps. The beam is visible from up to 275 miles away and is often used by aircraft as far away as Los Angeles as a navigational aid. Since 2008, only half of the lamps have been lit nightly in a cost-saving measure. Strange stories of the Luxor have circulated ever since its opening in the mid-1990s. Some believe that having a pyramid in an area of gambling brings dark energy and bad luck, and there are many theories behind this belief. One is that the Luxor has been cursed for its inattention to ancient Egyptian beliefs. The Luxor only has one Sphinx. Reportedly, having 2 Sphinxes is essential to protect the pyramid, as is thought to be the case with the original Great Pyramid of Giza. There was likely another Sphinx, but it was destroyed at some point in the past. Another theory is that the shape of the pyramid is thought to inherently have mystical properties and possibly even attract dark energy. Unless an eye, or the shape of one, is one day placed at the top of the pyramid, the Luxor's pyramid will supposedly remain cursed forever. Furthermore, guests of certain superstitious cultures have been reluctant to even enter the Luxor due to it being modelled on a tomb, which is thought to bring bad luck, not ideal when you're seeking out a place to gamble. I had the pleasure of staying on the 25th floor of the pyramid with a room that overlooked the strip. I'd often spend my downtime leaning against the window and watching the traffic sweep by and the planes come in to land at the adjacent airport. The atrium is open and gives an incredible view of the lobby below. Walkways run around the edge of the walls and 4-foot-high walls separate the walks from the atrium itself. Mornings were a pleasure as the area tended to be quiet and I enjoyed many a moment just leaning on the wall and watching the empty world below. So to get to your floor, you use an elevator, obviously. However, the elevators in the Luxor are not your regular straight up and down kind. Instead, the Luxor's elevators are specially engineered ones called inclinators, and they run at an incline of 39 degrees in the corners of the pyramid. One day, when I'm exiting the elevator, I noticed something very strange. I stepped out of the elevator car and turned left out of the small enclosed elevator hallway and onto the main open hallway. As I did, a grey figure appeared beside me and proceeded to walk with me until we reached the next corner. They then vanished. They didn't feel malicious or evil. In fact, they felt comforted to have someone with them, and I wonder how many other people have witnessed this ghostly figure. The feeling was that, like so many other people in that city, they'd done something that they regretted and wished that they could take it back. The figure appeared every time I alighted the elevator on the 25th floor, until we came to the night when I would do it one last time. I just returned from a concert and it was about 11:30 p.m. I had about 5 hours before I needed to take my luggage, go down to the lobby, check out and leave the airport. As I got out of the elevator, I paused at the corner and asked the ghost if it wanted one last walk. After a handful of seconds, the grey figure, which, from its outline, appeared to be female, appeared, and we took one last leisurely walk along the hallway into my room. I flew out the next morning, and on returning home did some digging to find out who the ghostly woman was. Are you ready for her story? Because if you Google Las Vegas ghosts, hers is one of the first to pop up. In September 1996, just a few years after the Luxor's grand opening, a woman jumped from the 26th story of the hotel and fell to her death. She died immediately from severe head injuries. Clark County's Sergeant Bill Keaton was quoted as saying that it was over very quickly. Her injuries were so severe that she could not be readily identified, and she carried no identification on her. The woman landed by the old buffet's entrance, which shortly after her death was completely and thoroughly cleared out and converted into something different. I've read several variations of her story, and the newly converted area is either the food court or the check-in desks. It's never been made evident why the woman jumped. Her sadly very real death has become the stuff of morbid legend. Stories that she was a sex worker who, grieving a recent HIV diagnosis, killed herself have proliferated in the decades since the woman's death. She jumped from the 26th floor, the last floor that opens out onto the atrium. Floors 27 through to 30 are all enclosed. I was on the 25th floor, and if it was the now check-in desk that she jumped onto, when I checked my photos from that vacation, I realised that the hallway we had walked along overlooked the check-in desks. I do hope that she's resting in peace and that she has had the chance to make other single travellers feel a little more comfortable about being in the world's largest playground. But the stories don't end there. The Luxor may well be one of the most haunted properties in Vegas, and whether this is down to its design or the rumoured curse that hangs over it, no one knows. Are you ready to hear those stories? Grab a drink, get comfortable, and let's get spooky. It is quite likely that the resort's construction was a rush job on a tight deadline that couldn't be met. In the process, at least 2 construction workers reportedly, as it is believed their deaths were covered up to protect the resort's reputation, died. Some local sources suggest as many as 7 workers perished in building the Luxor. Perhaps significantly due to the main pyramid's steeply sloping shapes, the Luxor's construction is considered to have been extremely difficult and dangerous. The resort's construction may very well remain the most treacherous construction process in the history of the Strip. The fallen workers have not gone completely forgotten. At times, especially in quiet parts of the hotel, the ghosts of these construction workers can be seen. When the Luxor's Nile riverboat ride was still operational, some guests claimed to have seen these ghosts roaming the tunnels. Multiple rooms seem to be haunted by the same blonde woman, though it is unknown if her stay at the Luxor was for business or pleasure. One thing that is certain is that the Luxor blonde has a thing for strangulation. Not her, of course, but the guest who is unfortunate enough to be occupying her bed. Numerous visitors have reported waking up after feeling hands gripped tightly around their necks. They awake gasping for air, their hearts ready to burst. When they check the rooms for signs of an intruder, there are none. The majority of these guests are also reported that right before being woken up with their necks in a ghastly grip, they were in the middle of a dream, and not just any dream. They were dreaming of an unknown blonde woman. It's unclear what happens if you dream of a brunette. Vacationers at the Luxor have seemingly experienced more paranormal activity while staying in the pyramid portion of the hotel casino as opposed to the towers. The casino wants to squeeze money out of you, but the entities in the hotel want to take your life. Some hotel guests may not see the Luxor blonde, but they do wake up to find it difficult to breathe. Also, guests without a history of heart trouble have reported to experience intense chest pains at the Luxor. It's hard to get a night's rest when it feels like every night there may be your last. The sound of fists hammering against the door in the middle of the night when security reports that the hallways are empty. A shadowy figure that exists just in the corner of your vision, moving just fast enough before you can confront it. Whatever troubles the Luxor does not want you to sleep. It doesn't even want you to be comfortable. That's because it wants you out. And if you go onto sites like TripAdvisor, you will see mentions of these ghosts in those reviews. In May 2007, in the Luxor parking garage, a coffee cup was left atop the car of a 24-year-old Luxor food court employee. When the employee went to remove the cup exploded. A homemade explosive device was inside the cup, and the employee died from the shrapnel inside the bomb. 2 men were later convicted of creating and placing the bomb, but they didn't know the victim. Furthermore, there was no apparent motive as to why they had made or left this device. In 2012, an airman from Nellis Air Force Base got into a fight with a colleague in the first floor lobby of the Luxor's West Tower. The colleague pushed the airman against an elevator door, which then inexplicably opened, despite no elevator compartment being present. The airman fell 25 feet down the empty shaft to the basement level. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition. In the years since the fall, there have seemingly been no clear updates on the man's condition, other than some sources stating that he later died from his injuries. As if the Luxor didn't already have a history of troubling incidents, in 2012 the resort faced bacterial contamination that led to 3 guests falling ill. The Legionella bacteria, which causes Legionnaire's disease, was found in water samples at the Luxor after testing. Though the Luxor did respond appropriately, superheating and chlorinating the water system to kill the water-dwelling bacteria, this effort didn't save one guest who died from the infection. Worse, after the first 2 cases of Legionnaires were discovered, the Luxor's water was tested but no bacteria showed up on that test. This mysterious discrepancy likely allowed the bacteria to somehow go undetected long enough to later contaminate and kill the 3rd affected guests. And there we have it, probably one of the most cursed and haunted properties in all of Las Vegas. If you do stay there, don't let it keep you awake at night. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please do feel free to subscribe. Walker of Worlds is available on YouTube, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to join the discussion, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Walker of Worlds Podcasts. When I'm not trying to scare you, I write books. If you'd like something new to read, please do check out my website at www.roswellpublishing.co.uk. And as always, until next time, stay spooky.